deep breath and remember who you are. Yeah, they're gonna mess with you, baby, you're a star. Stepping in the spotlight, you know that it feels right. Time to put up a fight, honey. Got nothing left to lose, so let's start right now. Everybody want a piece of you. Gotta give them what they want, it's true. Got some funny, yeah, so iconic. If you didn't know before, now you know. Now you know. Take a big step away from who you were. Flashing that smile and the whole world's a blur.
All right, let's do this. Positively Powerful on a Wednesday morning with Stacey Steinmiller and special guest Simone with her cheese doodly fingers, which we love. It's the best part. So, yeah, you know what? It's funny. These things kind of have turned into really just live streamed therapy for me. It's pretty much all it is, right? Right, Stacey? Would you concur?
Maybe. Well, yeah. If it was actually, it would look a little bit different. But yeah, I'm nice to you on here.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It would be worse. It would be much worse. No, it's just those things that I constantly am struggling with. That I'm like, well, I'm sure there are other people who are struggling with similar things, and so maybe that's something. Maybe that's the value that we can add.
It is. It's
so
relatable.
Here's my issue today. Jealousy.
Ooh, that's a fun one.
Jealousy is one of those things that I find really, really difficult to overcome. I will paint a scenario for you. I will change the names and occupations to protect the innocent or not so innocent. Okay, so let's say you're a person who wants to go into law, into the wonderful world of law, and you come from a medium income, maybe even lower medium income family. Not a lot of money, not a lot of ability to go to prestigious law schools or whatever. But the person goes to a reasonably good school, turns out is pretty good at what he or she does. And at a school decides after a couple of different jobs that they're going to start their own practice. And they start a practice, and they're working really hard starting this practice. And, they build a reasonably good reputation, and they're out there doing their thing. And it's just, they're not really killing it, but, there's prospects, but there's problems.
Yeah.
And along comes this other person, silver spoon, had parents who had a very successful law firm for many years and has a war chest of advertising money and all this kind of stuff. And then so that family sets their child up in their own law practice. This person really didn't. Now, this person isn't necessarily bad at being a lawyer. They're good, I guess. But the fairness in that where person A is struggling and really, and person B is just like Nepo baby, comes in with that. When I see those things happening in real life, it really bothers me. And I know that I shouldn't even bother with that feeling. I shouldn't care. I'd be like, good for them. If that's how they got into this, then good for them. Hopefully they'll just do the right thing and help people or whatever, use their power for good and not evil.
Yeah.
But it's that feeling that I get when that happens that I'm like, we're taught that this country is a meritocracy, that you work hard and you do the right thing and you will be rewarded with whatever. And in a lot of cases, that's maybe not accurate. Maybe some people are, they skate through life, they get everything handed to them, and that's just the way it is. And because of their war chest of funds for advertising and marketing and their connections in maybe local government or whatever it is, they have a better set of clients, better income, and they really didn't do anything to earn that. Mm-hmm. But that's their reality.
Yeah. Yeah. So a few different things. When you first brought up the word jealousy, my brain went to, well, there's a belief in lack there. And then on to the situation, I was thinking, so I worked with some coaches for quite a while that worked with archetypes. And so they would call the shadow archetype with the child, with the fairness. Like, this isn't fair. It shouldn't have to be so hard. And why is it so easy for them and not me? So that would be the shadow archetype. And then the opposite, the power archetype here would be the sovereign. And recognizing your inherent power and your ability to create yourself. So it's really kind of maybe looking at some of those shadow beliefs on fairness or how things are supposed to be or should be, because these are things that we create in our mind of like, oh, like I shouldn't have to make connections. I should just be handed these connections. I shouldn't have to create a practice. I should just be given a practice. And that's where I'd kind of like challenge, some of those belief systems, or where did they come from and why do you have them? And are those actually serving you? And like deep down in your soul, do you want to be, handed these things? I know for me, a lot of it, that the gift is like in the struggle of moving through and learning and then recognizing I have the power to create these things. But if I were just given them, then I would never have to like access that.
I didn't imply that that person A wanted to be handed anything, right?
Right, yeah.
Because that's not the case. That would not be the case.
That's actually, yeah. And, well, if there's a thing of fairness.
Oh, then why didn't that? Why I'm pissed off that didn't happen to me, kind of thing.
Right. Well, otherwise, why? Right. There's some reason around that. Is what I'm speaking to is the underlying belief systems that it all should, that should be me, basically, or something different. And then there's also another struggle too. Sometimes people in person B situation might feel that they didn't get that experience of needing to go out and have uncomfortable conversations or work a couple jobs or do the things because they're maybe being judged that, oh, your family has money or your family gave this or this isn't actually yours. And so there could be struggle around feeling of ownership around that and so forth. So, yeah, it's also like a reminder of like we see things from our own stories and belief systems and vantage points. So that's why it's kind of like really getting into what is that really about. And I had to do that with like the child archetype around fairness, especially and what that looks like. Yeah. So
would you say that the person, and I guess in if you're keeping the fairness thing, the person who's feeling the jealousy should say, well, you know what? I don't know exactly what that person is going through. Maybe that person is really pissed off that they were handed everything and they didn't, and maybe they don't feel like they have any ownership, like it's not theirs. Like their life is not their own. Like their life is an extension of their parents' life. Mm-hmm. And they were forced into. They didn't even want to be a lawyer.
Right, that could also be true.
They wanted to be a circus performer, but here they are practicing law.
Right. Yeah. We don't know those things. And
but should I feel bad for that person?
No, I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time on that person. It's more about like, wait, why do I have this belief system? What am I avoiding in me? what's uncomfortable for me, because really it's like we're trying to avoid some sort of discomfort of like, okay, now I gotta go and meet people and network and be more visible and put myself out there, and it's really uncomfortable and I don't want to do it. So then the mind's like, well, man, if I just got handed this thing, then I wouldn't have to do those things or something, right? So it's really just like your mind trying to avoid that feeling of discomfort that's going on. So it's making up a story about it, and then bringing out the jealousy feelings of like my life should look different, right? Versus my life is in support of my evolution. So clearly it's giving me everything possible to help me grow and evolve. And when we kind of look at life that way, then we can see I'm being given this struggle so that I can learn and grow and evolve from it. And if I wasn't given it, and if I didn't have these struggles, then life gets a little boring and bland, and we don't get that satisfaction of growing.
So then what, I'm just, this is one of those things that I'm not proud of the fact that I struggle with saying, why do they have this and I don't? And I try to work against it and try to, kind of psych myself out of it and be like, no, that's the wrong way to think about it. And I don't wish anybody ill will for it. But I guess, there's people who are probably sharing the same thing that I share.
Totally.
And what would you say to them? What would you say is a practice? Like, I know we've talked about this before with, telling yourself, changing the story and, there's kind of like, there's a process where you wake up in the morning and you go, all right, so today, and I think we talked about this last time, even though maybe you didn't hear it because I screwed up.
Oh, right, so we didn't post it.
Yeah. So, but it's kind of the idea of like creating a new story, creating practices that to psych yourself out of those feelings. You said it better than I.
Yeah. So first of all, we first need to meet the current feelings without judgment. And that's, I think, the harder part, right?
Yeah.
So first, it's really recognizing I'm feeling jealous, and how to meet that feeling without the thought being like, I shouldn't feel this way, but more of, okay, this jealousy is showing me that I'm having a belief system that is unsupportive to me, and then really kind of going back and looking at, well, what is that about? And what are those beliefs? What am I holding on to? And there's often a lot of frustration in that. And so that needs to be felt and processed, right? So if I'm feeling jealous and feeling like, oh, they have this and I don't, it's, so there's like a disappointment of feeling like I'm not living up to my potential. I'm not living up to my standard. And that makes me sad. And if recognizing that I'm not there, and it's not even a place of like I need to be there to be loved, but rather feeling I'm not exercising my existence in the way that I desire to be. So then it's kind of like, okay, so I think there's usually a lot of sadness that needs to be felt, maybe disappointment that needs to be felt, and then getting back to that desire of what do I desire for myself, and what are the uncomfortable things that are required, for me to do that. And then so it's just really kind of focusing on that. But if we don't feel through those feelings, they're just going to be there in the background and pop up in different ways. And so I think that's really the first part of it, is to meet the feelings with compassion and without judgment so that they can be felt and processed. Because without that, it's like the system's too full to do new things.
I mean, when I brought up this hypothetical situation, it was obvious that there was some shame attached to it.
Yes.
Like, I am not happy that I feel this jealousy.
Yeah.
I am, disappointed in myself which is already starting in a bad place.
Right. So it's meeting that with compassion, and and you've probably heard, and one of the easiest pieces of advice is if like, it could bring up memories of the past of feeling that shame, feeling not good enough, maybe feeling unworthy. And then what would you say to that past self? Or if that's too hard, if it was a child that you cared for or loved, what would you say to that person? Because then you would likely be more compassionate, a bit more gentle, and so forth.
Even with cheese doodly fingers.
Yeah, because then you'd be like, oh, wow, if you're looking at your past self or whatever, of like, man, that must have been really hard for younger Stacey to have these expectations of herself and feeling all this pressure and why is she putting so much pressure on herself? Well, it's usually has to do with being loved and accepted, right? And so then that's where it's bringing in loving and accepting in the self-compassion yourself. And so then it's more of like loving yourself into your potential and highest good versus shaming yourself into your potential and highest good. Because that doesn't work, right? Because shame isn't our highest good, right? Judgment isn't our highest good. Anger isn't our highest good. So we're always going to get blocks when those are the feelings that we're using to try and drive the ship forward. But that love and compassion and gentleness is the foundation for that growth.
I think the problem that I have the most is being consistent with some of these practices, and I've said this umpteen times before, but I get lost in my day-to-day of all the things that we have to do, and one thing next to the next and the next and the next, and then I realize that a week has gone by and I have not felt gratitude.
Mm-hmm. Did you set your alarm on your phone?
I did, but it didn't work. I don't think I did it right.
Well, then I'll have to do it before I leave today.
I don't know. Well, whatever.
No, it's fine.
So, but that's just the problem that I keep having. And even today, I said that to myself coming in. I was like, all right. You got to sit down, because a lot of times I'll come in and then I'll put my stuff down and then I'll sit on the couch in there and just like meditate for 15 minutes and try to put myself in a positive mindset and gratitude. And I come in and then that's got to be done, and that's I forgot to do that, and that's got to be done. And the next thing I know, and here you guys are walking in, I'm like, I never did it.
Yeah, it's because it's also just a very different way of life, right? Everyone always says, well, I don't have time for this. And it's like, well, it's about priorities. And then it's looking at, well, it's usually it's prioritizing work, right? For the most part, over our health, which is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and so forth. And it's really flipping that of, can you put you first, right? And when we don't, we're exercising in a belief in lack. Like, I have to do these things, these other things first. And that's, there's some sort of lack belief in there, or fear of if I don't, something bad's going to happen.
I also feel like I'm running out of time. Like, I have a limited amount of time. Like, every day that goes by that I haven't gotten a step closer to my goal is another day lost, is another, I just turned 53, and when I blink my eyes, I'm going to be 63. And then, I don't know if it's society or some kind of thing that has been drilled into my head that it's almost too late. It's almost too late for me. But I was just talking to a colleague the other day, a client, and he was saying, and he's, I think, 56, so he's 3 years older than me, and he's like, "This is our time as adults when you're in your 50s. This is the time where you got life figured out a little bit more than you did in your 40s, and definitely more than before that,
right?
You know, and so this is when you should be most in your power to identify where you can make changes and follow through on those changes and all that kind of stuff. And I really can't stand that feeling that my time is running, like that clock is ticking.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, next week, that's it. That's the, you know, I'm not gonna have time to build this business to where I want to go and to do all the things.
Yeah. That's like a sabotaging thought, right? So then it's like, am I willing to look at that differently, you know, around the time? It's been a while since I've said this, so things I would work on of like, I'm the master of time. Everything is happening in the right time, you know. So even just like starting to believe that it is happening in your right time, it shifts your energy around it, and then you stop rushing. And then when you stop rushing, you're more present. And when you're more present, you feel better. You feel at peace. And but yeah, it's almost like, but if you believe you're running out of time, then it's going to keep you stuck in the same habits, which will include not prioritizing yourself, and really recognizing that this stuff is built from the inside out. You know, so anytime it feels like I have to do these externals is opposite of that belief. And so that's what's really coming back and like challenging my belief system of recognizing I truly believe this is all built from the inside out. Anything can change at the drop of a hat, you know, and you can remind yourself of some of the things that do make life change at the drop of a hat, when an investment comes in out of nowhere, or a sponsorship comes out of nowhere, or a bunch of clients show up out of nowhere, and recognizing that the out of nowhere is the inner work, is that inside job. And so it's almost like a recommitment to that. And it is it's different living that way in society, because most people look at you like you're crazy when you say that. But, you know, I often remind myself that of like, okay, if I'm perceiving it this way, there's something out of alignment with my belief system, with the way I'm looking at it. And there is another way to look at this, and just even knowing that that's possible helps me to move through. But we can't bypass our emotions in that process. And for me especially, I was talking about a client with it last night, and it can be really messy, and it's not a fun experience. But the more we meet our emotions and have the right supports to support us through, then we kind of discharge that, and we have more energy to move forward. Yeah.
Like I really desperately want more people to watch this, to watch this live stream. Seriously, because I feel like there's just loads of information, and there's loads of, it's like it could very well be a community that would help people. I know that there are people that are on my Facebook, and YouTube circle that are experiencing these feelings of maybe inadequacy, or feelings of being lost, or maybe just all over being sad because the world is, you know, a dumpster fire of some kind. And it would be great. It would be great to have some of those people chime in on these live streams and say, hey, you know what, this is how I'm feeling, and I fixed it this way, or how do I fix it, or something like that. And I'm grateful that I have a community with our group to do that, and I've definitely not utilized it lately. It's been a couple of weeks that I haven't chimed in on the Telegram channel, but again, then don't shame yourself. Then it's recognizing, okay, well, maybe this like sadness or regret, it's showing up because it's
helping me to realign with what my values are, right? So instead of like shaming what you haven't done, it's like, oh, these negative feelings are really just helping me to get back into alignment. It's all they are, right? But the problem is we're like, oh no, I'm having these feelings, and then we self-punish and self-criticize and so forth, and then we don't get back on track. But it's recognizing, oh, these things are coming up because the inner work is important to me, and because I want to prioritize that, because I know that is the answer. And then it's simply recognizing that and being like, okay, well, I know that's the answer, and I'm going to prioritize it, and I'm going to prioritize it right now, even just in a moment. And it's, re-scripting that habit, but it can't be re-scripted without the compassion piece. Yeah. I think that's a theme that's coming up a lot with a lot of my clients and everywhere right now. It's eclipse season. We had a lunar eclipse yesterday. Was that yesterday? Yes. I had my call yesterday.
Yeah. And it's true that I think we're all just sort of as a society really hard on ourselves because there's that expectation of, what was the movie? I think it was City Slickers. City Slickers with Billy Crystal, and he's like, he goes through every decade, right? He's like your 20s, your blah blah blah. He goes by your 30s, this, and by your 40s, and it's like maybe we shouldn't listen to those benchmarks that people say that you should.
Because everybody's very different for everyone. Some people are millionaires in their 20s, and
bastards.
Some.
Just kidding. I'm happy for you.
And yes, it's later, and yeah. So again, it's like, why am I putting judgment on this? Why am I rushing myself? And then it kind of it brings up a feeling of maybe being a little person and feeling rushed and feeling behind, and and things like that. And it's I know parenting helps remind us that everybody's on their own timeline, but it is hard when you see things outside and and stuff that your kids might struggle with, being like, well, they're not going to go to college, in diapers or whatever it is. And right, like, I don't need to rush the potty training. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
When, like, they're going to be potty trained. Like, stop stressing about it. And those were things I really had to remind myself, and then still do, right? Like, it's gonna be okay. And the more you see it as okay and believe it and feel it as okay, then you're gonna take stress off yourself, off the people you love, off your business, right? Your business is a relationship too, and you take that stress off and you watch it grow.
So once again, there's this overwhelming feeling of self-awareness and reminding ourselves to be more compassionate and less judgy of ourselves. And I've heard this term a lot in the last couple of years, giving yourself a little grace.
Yeah.
And just take a deep breath and ask yourself, what is it that you're trying to do? What is it that you feel is in your way? And I think if you're honest with yourself, you'll figure out that, maybe these feelings of jealousy, this feeling of inadequacy, this feeling that I don't have my blank together. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
And I encourage you, if you if you are looking for a little help, to hook up with Stacey here in radicallifecoach.com. Is that yeah? Like, how long has it been? I still am trying to remember the website. But find that someone, find that community to help you get your blank together.
Yeah. Because
you can't do it by yourself. You need help.
And it's a lot more fun when in the community. And, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, one more positively powerful in the books, and based on all the stuff on my screen, it looks like it probably worked, which isn't a very good advertisement for my business. But I will say, I'm by myself today.
And you don't run your business like this.
And so we've been just kind of
different.
doing some extra things here. But rockvox.com, if you want to do a podcast or an audio book or a legacy cast or a live stream or some kind of video production or something, give me a holla. We'll see you next time on this show.